Listen carefully, because what I'm about to tell you today is going to offend some men, shock most women, and completely change the way you see relationships forever. If you're an older man and you think you win a woman by calling her honey, baby, or sweetheart, then you are already losing her. And the worst part is, you won't even realize it until she's emotionally gone. She will still smile, she will still reply, she will still act normal, but inside her mind, the respect is dying, the attraction is fading, and the moment a woman loses respect, it's over, even if she stays. Today, I'm going to reveal the one word powerful older men use that instantly changes a woman's psychology. It's not romantic, it's not cute, it's not something weak men say, but once you understand it, you'll realize why some men keep women loyal for years while others get replaced in weeks. And no, this isn't about money, it's not about looks, it's not about height, it's not about being young. It's about something far more dangerous, emotional power, the kind of power that makes a woman feel safe, obsessed, and emotionally attached without you even trying. Most men will never understand this because they're too busy chasing, begging, over-texting, and trying to impress. But the man who understands what I'm about to share becomes unforgettable. He becomes the man she can't replace, the man she compares every other man to. So if you've ever felt ignored, disrespected, or replaced, stay until the end, because the last part of this video will expose the biggest mistake older men make that destroys attraction instantly, and the simple shift that makes a woman stay forever. Most men think attraction is built through words. They believe if they say the right thing in the right tone, with the right sweetness, the woman will eventually melt and stay. That's why they use words like honey, baby, princess, sweetheart. They think romance is a performance. They think love is a script. And in their mind, if they say enough affectionate things, she will feel emotionally obligated to love them back. But this is where men misunderstand female psychology at the deepest level, because women don't fall in love with words. They fall in love with what words represent. And if your words don't represent strength, security, and self-control, then those words become meaningless noise. You can call her honey 1,000 times, but if your presence feels uncertain, if your emotions feel unstable, if your intentions feel desperate, she will never truly trust you. And without trust, there is no real attachment, only temporary attention. A woman can enjoy your sweetness, but she will not build her future on it, because sweetness is cheap. Anyone can be sweet. Even the man who is lying can be sweet. Even the man who is cheating can be sweet. Even the man who has no discipline can be sweet. That is why women don't take sweet words seriously. They've heard them before. They've been impressed by them before. They've been fooled by them before. And over time, a woman becomes emotionally intelligent enough to understand one thing: the men who speak the most often have the least substance. That is a brutal truth, but it's a necessary one. If you want to understand what women respond to, you have to understand something very simple. Women are not attracted to language. Women are attracted to emotional experience. They remember how you make them feel when you're not talking. They remember how your silence feels. They remember how your presence feels when they are anxious. They remember whether you bring calm or chaos. That's what stays in their nervous system. That's what forms emotional memory. That's what creates attachment. And this is why so many men lose women despite saying all the right things. They speak in romantic language, but their behavior communicates insecurity. They call her baby, but their actions scream fear. They say, I miss you, but their tone carries neediness. They say, I love you, but it feels like pressure rather than leadership. And the woman might smile, she might respond, she might even enjoy it in the beginning, but slowly something inside her begins to switch off. Not because she hates him, but because she stops respecting him. And here is the uncomfortable truth most men don't want to hear. Respect is the foundation of lasting love. Romance can start attraction, but respect is what keeps it alive. A woman may feel excitement for a man who is charming, but she will only commit to the man she respects. And respect is not built through compliments. Respect is built through stability. That is why words like honey are dangerous for older men, because they often use those words as a shortcut. They try to create intimacy too quickly. They think affection is the same thing as connection, but it's not. Affection is easy. Connection is earned. Connection is built through emotional safety, through consistency, through integrity, through boundaries, through self-control. A woman doesn't want a man who can talk like a lover. She wants a man who can think like a leader, because deep down, women are always asking one psychological question, not with their mouth, but with their emotions. And the question is this: can I relax around this man? Can I trust him? Can I surrender emotionally without fear? And if your words don't answer that question, then they don't matter. A younger woman, especially, is not looking for poetic speech. She is surrounded by men who are trying to impress her. She has messages full of compliments. She has men who call her queen. She has men who say good morning every day like a routine. But what she doesn't have is a man who makes her feel grounded. That is why older men who try to compete in sweetness always lose, because the younger men will always be more playful, more energetic, more available, more willing to entertain her. But the older man has one advantage that younger men do not have. He has the potential to offer emotional maturity. He has the potential to offer calm certainty. And that calm certainty is rare. That calm certainty is magnetic. That calm certainty makes a woman feel safe, not in a boring way, but in a deeply biological way. Because attraction is not just a choice, it is also nervous system chemistry. When a woman is around a man who feels emotionally unstable, her body senses danger, she becomes alert, she becomes defensive, she may still enjoy attention, but she will not surrender, she will not soften, she will not trust, and without trust, she cannot bond deeply. But when she is around a man who is calm, controlled, and self assured, her nervous system relaxes, her mind quiets, she feels peace, she feels like she can breathe. And when a woman feels like she can breathe around you, she starts associating you with safety, and safety is the gateway to attachment. This is why words like honey are weak when they are not supported by emotional leadership. They become empty labels. They become cheap currency, and the more you use them, the more you start sounding like every other man she has already ignored. A high-level man understands this. He doesn't speak to fill silence. He doesn't speak to win her approval. He doesn't speak to entertain her emotions. He speaks with intention, and his intention is not to impress. His intention is to lead. So instead of saying honey, he says things that communicate presence and certainty. He says, relax, I'm here. He says, I've got you. He says, you're safe with me. And these are not romantic words in the childish sense, but they are romantic in the deepest sense, because they touch something ancient inside a woman. They touch the part of her psychology that wants to trust a man's direction. And when you understand this, you stop trying to charm women. You stop trying to seduce them with words. You stop thinking attraction is about how sweet you sound. You begin to realize that the strongest form of romance is not flattery. The strongest form of romance is reliability, because the man who is reliable becomes unforgettable. The man who is consistent becomes irreplaceable. The man who is calm becomes addictive. And here is the part that will shock most men. The more you try to convince a woman to love you, the less she will. Because love cannot be begged for. Love can only be inspired. And inspiration does not come from sweet talk. Inspiration comes from discipline. Inspiration comes from emotional control. So if you want a woman to stay, stop talking like a boy in love. Start speaking like a man who knows who he is. Stop using cute words to create connection. Create connection through your presence, through your actions, through your stability. Because the truth is simple. Women don't remember what you called them. They remember what they became when they were with you. And if you made her feel calm, safe, and emotionally elevated, she will never forget you. Because words can be repeated, but feelings are permanent. So ask yourself this: are you speaking to impress her, or are you speaking to lead her? Because the man who speaks to impress will always lose, but the man who speaks with certainty will always be remembered. And the most powerful truth is this: a woman doesn't stay with the man who talks the sweetest. She stays with the man who feels like home. Now let's go deeper, because this is where everything changes. This is where most men completely misunderstand what women actually want. And because they misunderstand it, they spend their entire life chasing the wrong thing. They chase beauty, they chase youth, they chase attention, they chase passion, and they chase validation. And then they wonder why, even after giving everything, a woman still walks away emotionally disconnected. Because what most men call love is not love. It's desire mixed with fear. It's attraction mixed with insecurity. It's wanting her, but also being terrified of losing her. And the moment a woman senses that fear inside you, she begins to feel unsafe, not physically unsafe, psychologically unsafe. And that is the real reason women leave. Women don't leave because the man is not good looking enough. Women don't leave because the man is not rich enough. Women don't leave because the man is not romantic enough. Women leave when they no longer feel safe in the emotional environment of the relationship. And the word safe is not a soft word. It's not a weak word. It's not a boring word. It is one of the most powerful psychological needs a human being has, because safety is not comfort. Safety is trust. Safety is the feeling that you can let your guard down without being punished for it. A woman can be attracted to a man who excites her, but she will only bond deeply with the man who calms her nervous system. That's the truth, because women don't just love with their mind. They love with their body. They love with their emotions. They love with their nervous system. And if your presence creates tension inside her, if your energy feels unstable, if your mood changes too often, if your words don't match your actions, her body will start treating you like a threat, even if she cannot logically explain why. And this is where many men get confused. They say, but I'm a good man. I never hurt her. I never cheated. I never abused her. Yes, maybe you didn't. But if your emotional behavior makes her feel like she is constantly walking on eggshells, then she will not feel safe. And if she does not feel safe, she will never fully commit. She might stay physically, she might stay out of habit. She might stay because she enjoys the benefits. But emotionally, she will always keep one foot out of the door. Because women are not designed to surrender to chaos. They surrender to leadership. And leadership is calmness. Leadership is emotional control. Leadership is consistency. Leadership is knowing who you are, what you want, and where you are going. When a woman feels that in a man, she relaxes, and when she relaxes, she opens. And when she opens, she bonds. And when she bonds, she becomes loyal in a way that cannot be forced. This is why the word safe is so powerful, because when you make a woman feel safe, you are giving her something most men never give her. Most men only give excitement. Most men only give attention. Most men only give attention. But attention is not safety. Attention can be given by anyone. Even the worst man can give attention. But safety is rare. Safety means your presence is predictable in the best way. It means she knows you will not abandon her emotionally when she is vulnerable. It means she knows you will not punish her with silence. It means she knows you will not explode with anger. It means she knows you will not manipulate her feelings. It means she knows your love is not conditional on her being perfect. And this is where older men have an advantage if they use it correctly. An older man who is emotionally stable becomes almost irresistible to a younger woman because younger women have lived around emotional chaos. They have dated boys who they have dealt with men who disappear and return. They have dealt with men who love bomb them one day and ignore them the next. They have dealt with men who say, I love you too quickly, then switch into control and jealousy. They have dealt with men who cannot regulate their own emotions, so they try to regulate hers, and she is tired. She is mentally exhausted. So when she meets a man who is calm, grounded, and emotionally mature, something inside her begins to shift. She may not admit it immediately, but her body feels it. Her mind feels it. Her heart feels it. She feels peace, and peace is addictive because peace is not boring. Peace is healing. And women don't just want love, they want relief. Relief from stress, relief from drama, relief from uncertainty, relief from emotional confusion. This is why the most powerful sentence a man can say is not, I miss you, or you're so beautiful, or I can't live without you. No, the most powerful sentence is, I've got you. Because I've got you is not a compliment, it is a promise of emotional protection. And here's something men need to understand: women are always evaluating your emotional capacity. They are watching how you handle pressure. They are watching how you respond to conflict. They are watching how you treat them when they are difficult. They are watching whether your love disappears when life becomes inconvenient. Because a woman is not searching for a man who can love her when she is easy. She is searching for a man who can still respect her when she is emotional, confused, overwhelmed, or imperfect. That is what safety is. Safety is when she can be human around you. And most men cannot handle a woman being human. They only like her when she is smiling, when she is soft, when she is agreeable. But the moment she has an opinion, the moment she challenges them, the moment she becomes emotional, they become cold, they become aggressive, or they become distant. And that creates emotional. And once insecurity enters the relationship, love starts dying slowly. So if you want a woman to stay, you must become a man who is emotionally safe, not because you are passive, but because you are strong enough to stay calm, strong enough to listen, strong enough to not take everything personally, strong enough to not punish her for being honest, strong enough to lead the relationship with maturity. because emotional safety is not created through sweet talk. It is created through emotional responsibility. And that is the difference between a man who is respected and a man who is used. A woman will use a man who is stable. And let it be very clear, when a woman feels safe with you, she stops looking outside. She stops needing validation from other men. She stops entertaining attention because her emotional needs are already met. She doesn't feel restless. She doesn't feel uncertain. She doesn't feel like she has to protect herself all the time. She feels held, not physically, and the deeper truth is this: women are not loyal to words. They are loyal to the emotional environment you create. If you create an environment where she feels respected, calm, and protected, she will attach to you in a way that is almost spiritual, because you become more than a man to her. You become her peace. You become her safety. You become the place her mind goes to when the world becomes too loud. And once a woman associates you with peace, she cannot replace you easily. She can meet 100 men who are charming. She can meet 100 men who are handsome, but she will not find many men who feel like safety. So understand this, because it will change the way you approach relationships forever. A woman doesn't stay with the man who makes her feel excited. She stays with the man who makes her feel secure. And if you want to win her heart permanently, stop trying to impress her. Start becoming the kind of man she can breathe around, because the man who becomes her peace becomes her forever. And the final truth is this: she will forget the compliments, she will forget the gifts, she will forget the sweet words, but she will never forget the man who made her feel safe in a world that never was. Now let's talk about the one thing that separates older men who become irresistible from older men who become invisible. And it's not money, it's not status, it's not looks, it's not even experience. It is something far more rare, far more powerful, and far more difficult to master. It is emotional LL control. And if you don't understand this, you will waste the greatest advantage you have as an older man, because the world does not respect age automatically. Age only becomes attractive when it comes with maturity, when it comes with wisdom, when it comes with self-discipline. And most men grow older, but they never grow deeper. They still react like boys. They still get triggered by small things. They still want attention. They still want to win arguments. They still want to be validated. And they don't realize something very important. A younger woman is not impressed by your age. She is impressed by what your age should represent. She is impressed by what you should have learned. And if she sees that you have not learned anything, she will stop admiring you instantly. Because an older man who is emotionally unstable is not just unattractive, he is dangerous, not physically, but psychologically. He is the kind of man who can destroy peace, the kind of man who can ruin stability, the kind of man who can create emotional exhaustion. And women do not stay where they feel exhausted. The mistake men make is that they think emotional control means being quiet. They think emotional control means being cold. They think emotional control means not caring. But that is not emotional control. That is emotional suppression. Emotional control is not about avoiding emotion. Emotional control is about mastering your responses. It is about being able to feel something and still choose how to behave. That is a different level of power, because real masculinity is not aggression. It is restraint. And restraint is what women are watching for. Women do not trust men who cannot control themselves. They don't trust men who get angry quickly. They don't trust men who become jealous easily. They don't trust men who need constant reassurance. Because if you cannot control your own emotions, how can you protect anyone else? This is the psychological reality. A woman wants to feel safe with a man, but safety is not created by words. Safety is created by an emotional leadership means you are stable even when life is unstable. You are calm even when she is emotional. You are grounded even when things are uncertain. That is the advantage of an older man. Not that he has lived longer, but that he should have learned how to remain steady. And if you have not developed that steadiness, you are wasting the only thing that can truly set you apart from younger men. Because younger men have energy, younger men have excitement, younger men have time, younger men have a sense of adventure, and they can easily compete in that world. If you try to compete with younger men in youthful behavior, you will lose. Not because you are less valuable, but because you are playing the wrong game. The older man wins by being calm. The older man wins by being controlled. The older man wins by being unshakable. And this is why emotional control is not just attractive, it is magnetic. Because when a woman is around a man who is emotionally controlled, she begins to feel something she cannot explain. She feels that this man has depth. She feels that he has direction. And women are drawn to direction. They are drawn to certainty. They are drawn to the man who does not need to prove himself. Now, let's talk about one of the biggest reasons women lose attraction for men. It is not a lack of love. It is not a lack of beauty. It is emotional unpredictability. The man who is sweet today and distant tomorrow. The man who is calm one moment and explosive the next. The man who says he trusts her but constantly checks her phone. The man who claims he is confident but becomes insecure. Whenever another man looks at her, that inconsistency destroys respect. And without respect, attraction cannot survive, because attraction is not just about what you look like. Attraction is about what you represent. And if you represent insecurity, then your presence becomes emotionally heavy. A woman might still care about you, but she will not desire you in the same way. She will not admire you. And admiration is the fuel of long-term attraction. That is why the most powerful thing a man can do is not to control a woman, it is to control himself. A man who cannot control himself will always try to control others. That is why jealous men become possessive. That is why insecure men become demanding. That is why emotionally weak men become manipulative, because they are trying to reduce their own anxiety by limiting someone else's freedom. But a woman does not stay with a man who restricts her. She stays with a man who inspires her. And inspiration comes from self-mastery. The greatest form of masculinity is not dominance over women. It is dominance over your impulses, dominance over your emotions, dominance over your ego. Because your ego is what ruins relationships. Your ego is what makes you argue. Your ego is what makes you want to win. Your ego is what makes you react. Your ego is what makes you desperate to be right. And a man who is constantly trying to prove himself is a man who is constantly exposing his weakness. A confident man does not need to prove anything. He knows who he is. And because he knows who he is, he doesn't get shaken by small challenges. This is why women test men, not because they want to hurt you, but because they want to understand your emotional strength. They want to know whether you are a man of stability or a man of mood swings. They want to know whether you are a man who will remain calm when life becomes difficult. A and D, the truth is, Many men fail these tests without even realizing they are being tested. A woman might become distant for a day, and a weak man panics. He starts texting again and again. He starts over explaining. He starts trying to fix something that doesn't even need fixing. And in that moment, she learns something. She learns that he is emotionally dependent, and emotional dependence kills attraction faster than anything else. Because a woman wants to feel that she is chosen, not needed. She wants to feel that you are with her because you want her, not because you cannot stand being alone. And if she senses that you are afraid of being alone, she will feel the burden of your emotions. And no woman wants to carry a man's emotional burden. She wants to feel held, not to feel responsible for your happiness. That is why emotional control is power. Because when you are emotionally controlled, you don't chase, you don't beg, you don't panic, you don't overreact, you don't lose your dignity. And dignity is one of the most attractive things a man can have. A man with dignity doesn't argue loudly. He doesn't threaten. He doesn't try to force love. He doesn't try to convince a woman. He simply stays grounded. He stays calm. He stays in his frame. And that frame becomes the structure of the relationship. Women feel safe in structure. Women feel safe in a man who can hold his emotions without collapsing. And the deeper philosophical truth is this: your emotions are your responsibility, not hers, not society's, not your past, not your childhood. If you want to be respected, you must be responsible for your inner world. Because the world will never reward a man who is ruled by his feelings. A man who is ruled by his feelings is not free. He is a slave. And a woman can never fully admire a man who is a slave to his own insecurity. So if you are an older man, understand this: your greatest advantage is not what you have, it is who you have become. And if you want a woman to stay, don't try to entertain her. Don't try to impress her. Don't try to compete with younger men. Instead, become the man who is calm when others are chaotic. Become the man who is steady when others are unstable. Become the man who does not react but responds. Because the man who masters himself becomes the man women never forget. And here is the final truth you must take with you. A woman does not fall in love with a man's words. She falls in love with his emotional strength. And emotional strength is not loud, it is silent, it is controlled, it is disciplined. So master your emotions, master your mind, and you will master your life. Because the man who can control himself will never need to control anyone else. Now let's talk about language, because most men underestimate how powerful words can be when they are used correctly. And I don't mean romantic words. I don't mean poetry. I mean words that carry psychological weight, words that don't just sound good, but create an emotional shift inside a woman. Because the truth is, a woman doesn't remember every conversation you had with her. She doesn't remember every compliment you gave her. She doesn't remember every sweet message, but she remembers the moments when a man said something that changed the way she saw herself, changed the way she saw him, and changed the way she felt inside. And that's why certain words are dangerous in the best way. Words like "I appreciate you" and "I trust you" may seem simple, almost ordinary, but psychologically, they are some of the most powerful phrases a man can use, because these words do not come from desperation, they come from emotional maturity. They come from a man who is not trying to win her, but is calmly acknowledging her value. And women can feel the difference instantly. Most men compliment women in a way that feels like they are asking for something. They say, "You're so beautiful," but it sounds like they want validation back. They say, "You're amazing," but it feels like they are trying to soften her so she will give them attention. They say, "I love you," too early, too often, and it starts to feel like pressure. And the more a man speaks like that, the more a woman feels that his emotions are not controlled. They are leaking. That is why compliments can sometimes reduce attraction. Because when a man praises too much, it doesn't feel like appreciation, it feels like insecurity. But when a man says, "I appreciate you," it is different because appreciation is not flattery. Appreciation is recognition. Appreciation is calm. It doesn't put her on a pedestal. It simply acknowledges her contribution. It tells her, "I see you and I value what you bring." And that is powerful because every woman wants to feel seen, not seen for her body, not seen for her face, not seen for her beauty. She wants to feel seen as a person. She wants to feel that her presence matters, that her energy matters, that her effort matters. And most men never make women feel that. Most men are too focused on taking attention, taking affection, taking intimacy, taking validation. They are consumers. They don't realize they are draining the emotional atmosphere. So when a man comes along who says, "I appreciate you," and he says it without desperation, without begging, without neediness, something inside her changes because she feels that she is not being used. She feels that she is being respected. And respect is what creates emotional attachment. But there is an even deeper phrase, and this one is almost shocking because of how rarely men use it properly. The phrase is, "I trust you." Now, let's be honest. Many men say they want loyalty, but they don't create the emotional conditions for loyalty. They want a woman to be faithful, but they constantly question her. They constantly suspect her. They constantly try to control her. They ask who she's talking to, where she's going, why she took so long to reply. They call it love, but it is not love. It is fear. And fear is the opposite of trust. So when a man says, "I trust you," he is not just saying a sentence. He is communicating confidence. He is communicating that he is not threatened by the world. He is communicating that he is not trying to imprison her. He is giving her something that is rare, and that rare thing is freedom. And freedom is the foundation of real commitment. Because if a woman stays with you because she is controlled, that is not loyalty, that is captivity. And captivity always creates resentment. Sooner or later, she will rebel. She will emotionally detach. She will start seeking air somewhere else because human beings do not stay where they feel trapped. But if she stays with you because she feels trusted, that is loyalty. That is devotion. That is a woman choosing you, not a woman being forced into you. And here is the psychological truth that most men never understand. People become loyal to the identity you give them. If you constantly treat her like she is unfaithful, are planting the seed of unfaithfulness. You are making her feel guilty even when she is innocent. You are making her feel like you don't see her as a good woman. And when you don't see her as a good woman, she eventually stops trying to be one for you. But when you say, "I trust you," you are giving her a powerful identity. You are saying, "I believe you are loyal." You are saying, "I believe you are a woman of integrity." You are saying, "I don't need to watch you because I am not afraid." And when a woman hears that, she feels something deep. She feels honored. She feels respected. She feels elevated. And now she starts wanting to live up to that trust because no one wants to disappoint someone who sees them in a high light. That is why trust is not weakness. Trust is dominance over fear. A weak man controls, a strong man trusts. Because a strong man understands something very simple. You cannot force loyalty. You can only inspire it. And when you inspire loyalty, it becomes permanent. Now, let's connect this to the bigger picture. If you are an older man, your words must reflect your maturity. You cannot speak like a teenage boy. You cannot speak like a man who is trying to get her attention. You must speak like a man who is building a life. And that means your words must carry stability. That is why I appreciate you is powerful. That is why I trust you is powerful, because these words create emotional safety. They create security. They create respect. And respect is what makes a woman stay when things get difficult. Respect is what makes her stay when another man tries to impress her. Respect is what makes her stay even when she is tempted, because she doesn't want to lose the man who treats her with dignity. And here is another thing. These words also communicate that you are selective, that you don't just give your emotional investment to anyone. When you say, I appreciate you, it feels like she earned it. When you say, I trust you, it feels like she is being chosen. And that feeling of being chosen is what every woman craves, because deep down, women don't want to be chased. They want to be claimed with certainty, but claimed does not mean controlled. Claimed means valued. Claimed means respected. Claimed means I see you and I am intentional about you. And intention is the most attractive energy a man can have, because intention means you are not confused. You are not playing games. You are not entertaining 10 options. You are not there for temporary pleasure. You are a man who knows what he wants. And women are drawn to men who know what they want. So if you want to stand out, stop using weak words that every man uses. Stop calling her honey like you're trying to buy her affection. Stop over complimenting her like you're afraid she'll leave. Stop saying I miss you every day like a routine. Those words lose power when they are repeated without depth. Instead, speak less, but speak with meaning. Say, I appreciate you when she shows effort. Say, I trust you when she proves her integrity. Say it calmly. Say it confidently. Say it like you are not afraid. Because the truth is, women don't fall in love with the man who talks the most. They fall in love with the man whose words feel heavy, words that sound like they come from a man who has lived, learned, and mastered himself. And if you can master your language, you master her emotions. Because words are not just communication, words are psychological influence. So choose them carefully. And remember this: the most powerful words are not the ones that make her smile. The most powerful words are the ones that make her feel respected, safe, and chosen. Because when a woman feels chosen by a man who knows his worth, she doesn't look for an other man. She looks for a way to keep him. And that is the real game. Say less, mean more, and let your words become your power. Now we come to the final point, and this is where most men destroy their own value without even realizing it. This is where men unknowingly take a relationship that could have been powerful and turn it into something weak, something fragile, something temporary. And the reason is simple. They confuse love with need. They confuse attachment with dependence. They confuse desire with desperation. And a woman can sense desperation the same way a human being senses smoke. Even if she cannot see it clearly, she feels it. She feels it in your tone, in your texting habits, in your reactions, in your impatience, in the way you over-explain yourself, in the way you seek reassurance. And the moment she senses that you need her more than you want her, the dynamic changes. Because need is not romantic. Need is emotional weight. Need is a silent demand that says, you are responsible for my happiness. And that is not attractive. That is exhausting. A man must understand this. A woman does not want to become your emotional caretaker. She does not want to feel like she has to manage your mood. She does not want to feel like if she takes one step away, your world will collapse. Because that kind of love is not love. That kind of love is insecurity disguised as affection. And this is why so many relationships fail, not because the man doesn't love her, but because he loves her in a way that suffocates her. He loves her in a way that makes her feel trapped. He loves her in a way that makes her feel like she has no space to breathe. And when a woman cannot breathe, she will eventually escape. Now, let's be clear. Wanting a woman is healthy. Desire is natural. Attraction is part of being human. But needing a woman is different. Needing a woman means your identity is dependent on her presence. Needing a woman means your self-worth rises and falls based on her attention. Needing a woman means you are not in a relationship. You are in an emotional transaction where you are constantly paying with your dignity. And women do not respect men who sacrifice their dignity. They may enjoy the benefits at first, but they do not respect it. And without respect, love becomes unstable because love without respect turns into emotional boredom. And emotional boredom is the silent killer of attraction. This is why the sentence, I want you in my life, is far more powerful than I need you. Because I want you in my life communicates choice. It communicates strength. It communicates that you have a full life, a strong identity, and a clear direction. And she is being invited into that world. She is not being used to fill a void. She is not being used to fix loneliness. She is not being used as a replacement for purpose. She is being chosen intentionally by a man who could survive without her. And that is what makes a woman attach, because women are drawn to men who are complete and searching for someone to rescue them. And if you think about it philosophically, it makes perfect sense. A man who needs a woman is subconsciously saying, I am not enough on my own. And if you are not enough on your own, then how can she believe you will be strong enough to lead a relationship? How can she believe you will be strong enough to handle life? How can she believe you will be stable when pressure comes? A man who needs a woman is emotionally fragile. And emotional fragility is not masculinity. Is not about muscles. Masculinity is not about money. Masculinity is about emotional resilience. It is about being able to stand alone without coal, apsing. And when a woman sees that you can stand alone, she doesn't see you as cold. She sees you as powerful. And power is attractive. Now, here is where most men get confused. They hear this and they think, so I must act like I don't care. No, that is not strength. That is avoidance. Acting like you don't care is not confidence. It is emotional immaturity. Real confidence is being able to care deeply without becoming dependent. A strong man can love a woman fully, but he does not lose himself in the process. He can give her affection, but he does not abandon his mission. He can desire her, but he does not beg for her. He can commit to her, but he does not become controlled by her moods. And that balance is what creates a powerful relationship. Because when you are a man who wants her, not needs her, you naturally create a different energy. Your presence feels lighter. Your attention feels like a gift, not like a demand. Your love feels clean, not suffocating. And women respond to that because it feels safe. It feels mature. It feels like a man who has emotional discipline. And discipline is one of the most attractive traits a man can have. Now, let's talk about what neediness looks like, because many men don't even realize they are. Neediness is not just begging. Neediness is subtle. It shows up in overtexting. It shows up in constant reassurance. It shows up in trying too hard to impress her. It shows up in getting anxious when she takes too long to reply. It shows up in changing your personality to match her mood. It shows up in tolerating disrespect just because you are afraid she will leave. And the tragic part is that men do all of this thinking it will keep her, but it does the opposite, because a woman does not stay with the man who sacrifices himself. She stays with the man who stands firm. She stays with the man who has standards. She stays with the man who knows his worth. Because when a man has standards, it communicates that he values himself. And when a man values himself, a woman starts valuing him too. But when a man accepts anything just to keep her, he communicates that he is not valuable. And women are biologically wired to be attracted to value. So if you want a woman to stay, you must stop operating from fear. Fear makes you chase. Fear makes you overinvest too soon. Fear makes you give too much too quickly. Fear makes you lose your frame. And when you lose your frame, you lose her respect. Because a woman cannot respect a man who has no backbone. She cannot respect a man who changes himself for approval. She cannot respect a man who abandons his purpose for a relationship. Because deep down, she knows that if you can abandon your purpose for her, you can abandon her for something else too. That is why purpose is stability. A man without purpose becomes needy. A man with purpose becomes magnetic. And this is why older men must understand this more than anyone, because the biggest advantage of an older man is not his resources, it is his direction, it is his maturity, it is his ability to lead a life with structure. And if you are older and still emotionally dependent, then you have failed the main reason age is supposed to make you attractive. A younger woman is not looking for a man who needs her. She is looking for a man who can hold her, a man who can guide, a man who can make decisions, a man who doesn't panic, a man who doesn't beg. And the truth is, women don't want to be the center of your life. They want to be a meaningful part of your life. Because if she becomes the center, she becomes responsible for your happiness. And that responsibility will eventually suffocate her. So what should you do? You build a life that you respect. You build discipline, you build purpose, you build your mind, you build your work, you build your mission, and then you invite her into your world, not as a savior, but as a partner. That is masculine. That is powerful. And when you speak to her, you don't speak like a man who is afraid to lose her. You speak like a man who knows that love is not a prison. Love is a choice, and you choose her, but you do not worship her. You value her, but you do not abandon yourself. That is why the sentence, "I want you in my life," is a weapon, because it communicates love without weakness. It communicates desire without desperation. It communicates commitment without losing self-respect. And that is the balance every man must master, because the man who needs her will always feel insecure, but the man who wants her will always feel powerful. And here is the final truth you must take away. The strongest relationships are not built on obsession. They are built on two whole people choosing each other daily without losing themselves. So love her deeply, but never forget this: a man who cannot stand alone will never be able to lead a woman. And if you want her to stay forever, become the man she admires, not the man who begs. Because when a woman sees a man who wants her but doesn't need her, she doesn't feel pressured. She feels chosen. And being chosen by a strong man is the most addictive feeling a woman can experience. So build yourself first and let your love come from strength, not from fear.